Steve, it says that we're live now. It says that we're live on Facebook. How you doing?
Hey, Facebook, isn't that something? I never thought I'd hear about such a thing. Maybe Face Mountain, or Book Mountain, but Facebook? All right, let's do this thing. How are you, Dave?
I'm doing pretty good. So just because folks know you, folks don't know me. My name's Dave. I've been a good buddy of Steve's. We've been friends for over a decade now. Steve's like a second dad to me. I work with Steve doing video stuff, doing some of this Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and kind of keeping the website. But it's all fun because we've been buds for a while. And I rode my first mule with you out at your ranch in Queen Valley and brought my son out there. And he was 2 years old and he sat up on his first mule out there. So Steve's a very good family friend, and I believe I am with you as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good memories. Some good ones.
Very good memories. Yeah. So if folks pop on, folks pop off, we may have some questions come in here. But I was curious. One of the videos that we just uploaded to YouTube was talking about desensitizing versus halter training. And so a lot of times, folks will think, I need to be, desensitizing my mule so he doesn't go, jump here or do that. Or if we go across a bridge, they won't freak out. So I got to desensitize them to a bridge, or I got to desensitize them to snakes. But you said, no, we're not desensitizing, we're halter training. And I think that's kind of a little bit of a head shift for a lot of people, because don't you want them to be desensitized? So can you just talk about that?
You bet. Matter of fact, I just finished up an article talking about this desensitizing thing. We've got to remember that this animal has two brains, but they don't have the cranial lobe that tells the right side what the left side is doing, the left side what the right side is doing. They don't have it. And since they don't have it, it's really difficult to train, because you have to train one side at a time. So here's the thing we have to remember, is their brain that retains the training that we as humans, i.e. the herd leader, but also a predator, we as humans teach them, it's only the size of a walnut. So they can't keep that much information in there, because the rest of their information is flight and fright. I see a problem. I perceive it's going to eat me alive, so I'm out of here. You cannot take that away. You can't take it away. The good Lord put it in there for a reason. Now, the other things they do is bite and kick, but that's another story. They'll find some way to get around it. Let's go back to this thing. When it comes down to these animals, they are very much an animal that wants to maintain and take care of themselves. Okay? And when we desensitize, which I don't like the word, because they think, okay, I fixed it. Now he went across this bridge, and we did it 500 times, and now he'll go across every bridge. Whoop! Now the next time they go across the bridge, now it's got a little bit more water going underneath it, a little bit different. That mule says, I'm not going to cross that bridge. Wait a minute. You crossed these other bridges. What's the difference? What's the difference is now we've got more water running through, or maybe the bridge is narrower. Look, folks, these animals cannot retain that a bridge is a bridge, no matter how you look at it, all right? If you want to desensitize, let me get you a bear. How many of you got a bear? Answer, none. How are you going to desensitize them when they see a bear? How are you going to do it? You can't do it, okay? Well, let's do this. Let's go to the World Championships. We practiced day after day, month after month in preparation of going to the World Championships to pack speed packing. We go there. In the meantime, we've played loud music. We've had banners. We've had animals running around. But what we didn't have is 5,000 people yelling and screaming. We had guys on a microphone making noises. We didn't have it. So take desensitizing out of your vocabulary and put, I am the herd leader, and put, I am going to tell you which way to go, because I'm going to use my voice, hands, legs, and my seat. I don't care what kind of problem comes down. All right? I can tell you, when I was at Yosemite, we was watching all of our mules and horses go over to the other end of the fence, and here goes a mama bear and 3 babies. They wasn't 10 feet from them. Oh, they're desensitized against bears. Oh, no, no, no. Because a couple days later, now I'm going down the trail. I got 5-pack mules behind me. I'm going down the trail. It's almost 1,000 foot here, and it's kind of straight up over here. And here comes this bear. He comes down and gets on a trail, probably 200 yards ahead of me. Oh, my horse knows bears. It's okay. But all of a sudden, this bear turned around and started coming toward my horse. And my horse is sucking back, going, oh, oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. And now, if I didn't know what to do, next thing I know, I'm running back through my string of mules, or I'm running up on the side of a mountain trying to hold on and this sort of thing. Ain't going to happen. What did I do? I used my spurs. That made where I'm at uncomfortable. That means going toward the bear is comfortable, you see. But here's the thing. Most people say with their voice, come on, Fluffy, let's go, let's go, let's go. I want you to go. You can do it. I know you're trained to do it. You're trained. You know all about it. Don't depend on that. Because when Mr. Flight kicks into Mr. Fright, you can say goodbye to Fluffy because he's going to go down the trail. So there I go. You know, it's frustrating to think people say, I've got a trained mule. Now I just sit back, hold my steering wheel, and I go down the road. Let go of the steering wheel of your car. Where does your car go? Let go of your reins, or don't pay attention to where his nose goes. Next thing you know, he's looking for monsters. He's gone the other way. Forget the desensitizing, folks. Learn how to ride. Come to my clinics. We'll show you how to do it. Huh, Dave?
So, yeah, absolutely. So, Marlene Thomas says hi. You want to say hi to Marlene?
Hey, Marlene. Hi, how are you? What kind of question can I help you with?
We got Marlene Thomas. We have Raquel Rocky Lacey, Judy Luce, Eric Palmer
Yes.
Chimed in. We got 17 folks hanging out with us right now.
Oh, well, good deal. Good deal. Yeah, that's Rocky. I haven't seen her in quite a while. We'll have to do a clinic up there sometime. She's up by close to a ranch I used to work at called the YOLO Ranch. She's in a little tiny town, but we'll have to do a clinic there sometime. And then who was it? Luce?
Yeah, Judy Luce.
Judy. Oh, she has got an awesome mule. Oh my goodness! It's the only reason it's awesome because I trained it, you know. But no, really, this mule is incredible, absolutely great. Who else we got out there?
Eric Palmer.
Eric. Hey, Eric. Now there is a trainer. There is a genuine mule and donkey trainer. I'm writing an article about that guy right now, you know. What's the difference between horse trainers and mule trainers, you know? And Eric can sure show them that there's a mega difference between those cotton-picking horses, if you got that lower standards, and donkeys. A lot of people right now, Eric, and you know this, and Dave, you know this too, a lot of people right now are playing the role, and they're saying, yeah, I'm a horse trainer, but I'm going to look like a mule trainer so that I can say I'm a mule trainer and get some of that pie. Well, guess what? You can smell a horse trainer a long ways away, especially when they put a adjusted halter on that mule that is not correct. I got a good deal.
I know that you've said that there are some things that a horse trainer can benefit with training a mule, but there's a lot of things that you hear them say this, you hear them say that, you want to hop up in your, I think in the video, we've got one coming out. I don't know if it's on YouTube yet, but you say, what do you say? You said something, and if you hear them say that, you want to get the heck out of there, load up in your truck and get the heck out of there, because it's nothing but problems. So that's on one of your YouTube videos. We got a lot coming out. But Eric says, thanks for sharing your great knowledge. I know he's a great friend. And then Raquel wrote back. She says, hey, bud, good to see you, and I would love that, doing a clinic up there. And Judy says, thank you, Steve. She is awesome. Thank you for all your training. And Eric says, Steve, you are too kind. I owe you so much. I owe you so much from what you have taught me in the last 20 years. So lots of good love on Facebook today.
Yeah. And Eric, I appreciate his humbleness. I really do. The guy rides donkeys. He's even got his own donkey jack. But he won a trail class on a donkey, blew them horses and stuff away. So there's a true mule trainer right there. Eric Palmer, There he is, the true mule trainer.
That's awesome. So something else that I wanted to ask, and folks, if anybody's coming in, my name's Dave, and I'm one of Steve's friends. But if you have any questions or whatnot, feel free to leave in the comment section. I know that Steve's pretty active on Facebook and does a good job of answering back on Facebook. But if you want to hear him talk specifically about anything that you're working on or anything that Steve's got a clinic called Why Does My Mule Do That? So if you have any questions about why your mule is doing a particular thing, you can use the comment section there. I'm monitoring that, so Steve can just kind of talk. So I'll check to come in. But you do have some clinics coming up this year. I know we've got one coming up at Queen Valley Mule Ranch in a couple weeks. But where else are you traveling to this year? What other clinics are you going to?
Well, they're not so much clinics as they are expos. They usually give me an hour here and there. And I do have one in Tennessee coming up. And that one is, I'm actually going to be doing 2 one-hour clinics a day. And then on Sunday, I'm doing an actual 4-hour clinic, hands-on and this sort of thing, Sunday afternoon. So it's going to be awesome. I've backed off, Dave, of the 30, 60-day, 90-day training. I'm just sending all those to Eric from now on, and get them rode that way, because having 2 hips that I've had to replace has flat slowed me up, especially this last year with the 4 hips going.
You could have fooled me, honestly.
Yeah, 4 operations in 1 hip. So it's slowed me down. I've finally been using the word old. I don't want to do that, but I did. So I'm going to do the expos. I'm going to do some clinics. But for the most part, I'm going to be at Bishop for Bishop Mule Days. So yay, everybody be there at Bishop Mule Days. I've got one in Indiana and one in Minnesota expos that they'll be flying me out. Those are kind of fun. Well, those are a lot of fun because I get to talk to hundreds of people that way. And that's nice to be able to show them a different way. I need people to see, and David, and you know how I've been pushing this for a long time, Dave, is that there's a major difference between horses and mules and donkeys. And there's a major difference in how you go about to communicate with them. And we got some young trainers that are up and coming that I'm hoping for the best. They'll do all right. But unfortunately, they don't ride enough donkeys. And they ride a few mules, but you got to ride a donkey. You got to understand a donkey if you're going to be a true mule trainer.
Yeah. We had Sammy Levert come on. Sammy says, hello, Steve, looking well.
Sammy, there's a character. Sammy, how you doing? That's good to hear from you. Are you riding?
Susan, while Sammy's typing back in, Susan Alsuski Callahan says, hey, Steve.
Now there's a gal. She's a tall drink of water, that little girl, and rides a big, black, good-looking mule. My goodness. The 2 of them together, you got to wear sunglasses to look at them.
John McConnell says, Denise W. Peters says, where in Tennessee? Isn't it Murfreesboro?
Murfreesboro, yes. If you go on my website at muleranch.com, you'll see all the information. I just emailed you, Dave, the calendar of events.
Oh, okay.
So you should have those. Maybe we can get those on the website or something. But it's going to be there. And I want to see the mule and donkey people just come out and blast the horse people at this thing. I want them to see that there's a lot more mule and donkey people out there than they think.
Absolutely. So we got a question from John McConnell. He says, how do you handle a buddy sour mule?
Yeah. Difficult, because number one, the good Lord put into those animals, as long as we stay together, we're going to be safe. But when my buddy goes to leave, I'm not safe anymore. So what has to happen, again, I'm writing an article on this right now, and what has to happen is it's imperative that we become the head of the herd. And you have to make their life comfortable, uncomfortable. Let me give you an idea. We're standing on the ground with the come-along hitch on the mule. That is the buddy sour one. I know they both are, but some tend to be a little bit more timid than the others. So we take the timid one, and we got the come-along on him, and we're getting him ready. the other one starts to walk away, and then the timid one all of a sudden starts moving. Oh boy, I got to go with my buddy. What we have to do is take that come along and ask, tell, demand. So bump, I'm asking, bump, I'm telling, and then if we have to, we literally rip their nose off. But you always, when you're training and you're building a foundation on a mule, always start with the nose first. That's why I use the come along hitch. And then as you progress, you'll use less to get more. So you see, I said ask, tell, demand. So the mare, she pins her ears. She said, don't come no closer. The mare, she pins her ears and swishes her tail. Don't come no closer. Then she spins and kicks. So ask, tell, demand. That's what you're going to do, is you're going to start from the ground with a come along hitch. And a good video, by the way, Dave, is that video called Problem Mule Building a New Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
That and my come along rope, which is wax coated. But see, the big problem is, here's the end result, is we can't break the buddy sour because we don't have the tools to fix it. And we expect like a rope halter to do it, and it ain't going to happen. Like a smooth snaffle bit, it ain't going to happen. Because you see, horse trainers, they use smooth snaffle bits. Mule trainers, especially the ones that I know how to use a double twisted wire like on my bridle. But going back to his question, you can't change it. You can't take it out. But what you can do is you can get them to respect the halter, and then from the groundwork, then you go into the saddle work. What state is he in?
You know what? He hasn't said yet. John, what state are you in? I'll be sure to forward that here. What we're doing for folks coming in, if anybody has any questions, John had a question asking about a sour mule. He said, how do you handle a buddy sour mule? And so that's what Steve's been talking about. We'll see if John comes back in. And you may have already mentioned that. He says Arkansas.
Okay. Now the Holy Land. Look over the Arkansas. Yeah. So here's the deal, Dave. We cannot put them in separate corrals and fix it. We can't put them in one end of the pasture or the other and fix it. Can't be done. It has to be done starting first with the come along rope. Again, my video Problem Mule, and starting using the foundational training there. The big problem with the majority of these ones is they don't have respect for the halter or the bit. And that video would really help him out a lot.
Yeah, John, I put a link in the comment section. You probably saw it there. I tagged you too. But that's the video that Steve's talking about. And he mentioned the come along rope and the come along hitch. Steve, did you saw I was searching YouTube just for ideas on videos we could do. You saw that there was somebody out there who had the come along rope and was doing a little bit of what, foundation work? Is that what that was called?
Foundation training. That was great. I love it. You know, when people will take and try it and use my ideas and try to help somebody else, I love it. You know, there's another lady out there that does it with a donkey, and she uses the come along rope.
Raquel, thanks so much. Raquel says, listening to what you're saying, my friend. And then she's saying, so true. So that's very good. John, hopefully that's helpful. If you have any follow-up questions, one thing that I know about Steve is he's always willing to chat on the phone, and he's always willing to email exchange. So send him a message if you have any more, steve@muleranch.com. And if you guys need to hop on the phone, I know Steve's always willing to do that. What's the Problem Mule? It says Problem Mule Building a New Foundation. I know that that's a popular video. What's that one all about? Like, what's that, and who is that one for?
Well, actually, this is unique, Dave, in that this buckaroo. Now, a buckaroo is kind of one of the top echelon cowboys. You know, they ride with a quirk on their hand, and they've got round hats with a top that looks like this. Can you see this?
Yeah, I can see that.
They ride with that kind of hat. I don't know if anybody else can or not, but anyway.
Oh, yeah, they can see it. You look good, Steve. They can see it all.
So anyway, this buckaroo, he comes to me, and he called me first. He says, I've got a mule that I can't lead, I can't bridle, and I can't get a saddle on him. And I'm thinking, my goodness, he's got one of them camped mules, you know. And I said, all right, we'll bring him. And in the video, you see us talking, And here's this buckaroo telling me how he's dragged this mule behind a pickup truck and that he can't touch his ears now because the vet just got done stitching up some of the hide on his ears, and just lots of things. And then you'll see at the end result, I take this mule out of the trailer, I got the come along hitch on him, and I take him in a round pen. Now this is in Bozeman, Montana at the DJ Bar Ranch, you know. So here's a real working cowboy, and he's telling me he can't get a saddle on this mule and he can't work it. Watch what I do with this mule. Gorgeous mule and willing to do it, but he's a horseman. And you got to understand that halters are different, bridles are different, bits are different, and most of all, how you communicate is different. You see, a mule, every move is a picture. And so they're watching every step. Don't say nothing. When I tell people use their voice, hands, legs in their seat, don't talk. All it does is make you feel good because the mule don't understand a darn word you're saying. But let's go back. This video shows in a short time how I can have this mule going around in circles and this sort of thing really went nice. And the guy actually ended up riding the mule that day. But that come along work show that video, Problem Mule, shows you how to do proper foundational groundwork. You'll see it. I'm different than everybody else, especially using that come along rope and adjusting rope halters.
That's awesome. So I know that you guys were in Cabo recently. You got any stories from Cabo?
Oh man, I tell you, that was incredible. I go down there and speaking some Spanish and this sort of thing. I thought I was doing pretty good. I did better as I went along, as you spent more time, you know. But we went fishing, my wife and I did. Now, we're celebrating 50-year anniversary, right? And this is just one thing that we're going to do. It's blessing from the Lord. It's the only way. But this is just one thing we're going to do. We've also got an invitation to go to a place called Hawaii, and we're going to go there for a couple weeks. And I got some clients that invited me to go there. Anyway, we're going to do several things. We go down to Cabo, so we go fishing. And the guide is supposed to speak English, and he speaks nothing but Spanish. Of course, my wife, she don't understand a thing that he's saying, and he's trying to talk to her. So I'm translating to my wife so that she understands. We caught tuna, and we caught mahi, and we caught one other fish. Anyway, the neat thing about it, Dave, right out of the ocean, right onto the skillet. And 2 hours later, I was eating the most phenomenal meal I have ever eaten. It was
nothing
great.
Like fresh caught seafood, is there?
Oh, man, it was awesome. Little Mexican girls got in there, and they had a big hot plate going on there, and they grilled everything. We had mahi and tuna 6 different ways it was cooked. Oh, makes my mouth water just thinking of it. And we just pretty much, you couldn't swim in the ocean because they had a lot of riptides at that time. But we just hung out at the hot tub. We went swimming. We walked around. We went into the stores and we bought some dusters, not dusters, some things that you have to dust all the time. But my wife wanted them, and if Mama's happy, I'm happy. You know, we had a ball. You know, we really did.
Every time I come out to your ranch, so you're talking about food now. That made me think. Every time I come out to your ranch, you've always got some sort of game, ready to eat. It's whether it's moose or whatever type of sausage or whatever it is that you've gone out and harvested. You've got that. I'm sure you'd be interested in anything that any hunting trips that folks have got coming up. But you did. So if you've got a hunting trip coming up, or if you came back from one, I know Steve would love to. Hear what it is you were able. Is harvest the term? What it is you're able to harvest?
Harvest, yeah. We like to say that rather than saying we're killing. You know, yeah. People get a little put off when we say we just killed one, but we just harvested. Yes, you know.
Yeah. So,
I'm always.
So if you
talk to me about hunting, fishing, mules, let's go. You know.
Yeah. If you got anything, put it in the comment section. But you were in New Mexico. And I know that because you sent me a video of you with Rodney, a lifelong rancher. So if you guys aren't following Steve on YouTube, make sure you are. We just uploaded a video there. Steve was out in New Mexico with a longtime buddy. They went hunting, but he's also a user of your saddles, and so you guys sat down and talked. But talk a little bit about that trip. You can talk a little bit about the saddle or the mules too, but talk a little bit about that trip, what you guys went out there for, what you were able to harvest, and how that was.
Very good. Yeah, this was in Mayhill, New Mexico, and Rodney's he's a rancher, longtime rancher, and we've grown to be really good friends, and he's a brother in the Lord as well, which, as you know, Dave, that's the most important thing to me is the Lord. But anyway, I took my nephew with me over there, and he's a sheriff's officer in Phoenix, so he's kind of under the pressure all the time. So I've taken him on his first hunt since he was 14 years old, and so now here he's 43, and we went to New Mexico to hunt a cow elk. And I wouldn't really call it hunting, I'd just call it harvesting, because we arrived there. I had a freezer in my flatbed truck. I had it on the back. We'd already got it cold. We just plugged it in when we got there. My buddy had us a place to stay, and this one, which we did. Next morning, we went in the kitchen, had a cup of coffee, had some breakfast, walked out about 200 yards outside of the kitchen, and standing at the gate, and Rodney says, yeah, over there to the left in the alfalfa field, there's about 25 head of cow elk and a couple bulls, about 450 yards. Or we looked up, he says, now there are 600 yards, or we can get these right here at 300 yards. So I said, I'll take the 300-yard ones, and I put my rifle on top of a post. Mine dropped, and then my nephew, he brings his over, and he shot the next one, and his dropped. So then the fun ends and the work begins. So 15 minutes out of the back door of the ranch, we got a cow elk down. We go up, and we quarter them and prepare them and this sort of thing, bring them down to the gate, where we have a tractor and we have a quad there, a Ranger to drive, and then we just put the stuff in the tractor. We took it back over, we cleaned it up, we put it in the freezer, and about 3 hours later, we had about 600 pounds of meat apiece hanging in the freezer.
Just hanging out there.
Yeah, just hanging out. So now we're making jerky and we're making some sausage, and I like to make spaghetti sauce too. I see your lips are licking there, Dave.
I know that I'm coming out there because you got your clinic on February 3rd. I'm like, I know that I'm coming out there. I'm like, I'm gonna have to leave with a little bit more than just some mule knowledge. I'm gonna have to leave something from a belly.
Well, we can a lot, so we can some elk. So I'll make sure them grandkids of yours get fed good. Those are my grandkids too, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I want the kids to have good food, and they're going to have good food when I send elk home with you.
That's right. Hey, Raquel put in a question. She wants to know what your experience is with a colic in mules. She'd love to get your thoughts on that. What is a colic in mules first? I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, colic is a horrible thing. And what it amounts to is it actually ends up killing the animal if you don't have the knowledge how to help it through, okay? And colic, basically what it amounts to is it can be done lots of things. When I rode a lot of horses, it was because of lightning storms and a lot of atmospheric conditions. It can also be from a bad feed that ends up being a problem as well. And Dave, like I said, it actually kills it actually can kill the animal. Now I've lost a couple, but I've been able to save more than I've lost. So let's go back. Usually what is the colic problem is we have a large and small intestines. And so then that small intestine gets fed by the large intestine. So there's a real narrow area that the food sometimes will get impacted on. And then when it gets impacted, then and plugged up, then all it ends up, when they lay down a roll, it ends up twisting into getting twisted gut. And it's not from the twisted gut, it is from the damming up of the large and small intestines. But here's the big thing: not all colic is true colic. The majority of the time, in the feed that we are feeding, the hay that we're feeding, the rat manure, the snake parts, body parts, and this sort of thing create something called salmonella. And if we truly would find out what was wrong with our mule when it passed away, and we did a blood test or we send in a hair sample, we'd find out the majority of our animals, it's not a true colic like from bad feed or atmospheric conditions. It's actually from, it is bad feed in a way. I'm talking about feed that's gotten spoiled and gotten wet. That's usually the problem. But it's usually from feed that's got salmonella in it. And that's usually the problem. And we get that from hay. That's why I feed nothing but pellet. I feed Lake and Light, and I feed it. I fed it for my mules for 25 years. It's actually cheaper in the long run. There's less road apples on the ground and this sort of thing. So let's go back to the colic. Rocky's a long ways away from any vets or anything. So anybody, I tell them, you make sure that that you've got some different drugs on hand. And Banamine, buy it in the 50 cc bottle. You can get it from your veterinarian. It's about the only place you can buy it, unless you do have an out some other way. But you keep a Banamine around, and keep a syringe, at least 10 cc's, with a 16 gauge needle. If you can't go jugular in the main vein, then go ahead and go intermuscular. But the Banamine, what it does is when that large intestine and small intestine starts getting tightened up and starts creating the animal's problem, and the muscles are tensioning up and he's starting to have a problem, that Banamine is like a great big ibuprofen. And all of a sudden the mule will start relaxing, away you go. Now I have, when I've had them hit the ground and I knew it was kind of my last chances, I've taken and you folks ain't going to like this sound of this, but I have taken a water hose and I put it in their rectum, and I've turned that water hose on full blast, and I've saved a few mules that way. But don't let nobody kid you, y'all. Mules colic. They do colic. And mules can also get all kinds of hoof diseases. They are not immune to any of the equine problems that we have. They're not immune to it. So, Rocky, keep Banamine around. Very, very important. But most of all, folks, make sure your teeth are floated correctly. That can also create your stomach problems, and make sure that's done, and make sure you're feeding good clean water. Make sure you use only white salt. Don't buy that mineral block. It's a waste of time. But the downside of the hay is this: you don't really know what vitamins and minerals are in that hay. You're just buying hay. And especially don't buy alfalfa. That'll colic a mule quick. And also if you feed any type of sweet feed with molasses, that'll colic a mule as well. Mules can't stand prosperity. They can't stand having a lot of high carbohydrates. So hopefully that'll help you out, folks.
Yeah, she wrote back. She said, I did what I could, meds on board, tubed him with mineral oil both ends. Nothing helped. We ended up putting him down. Tough deal.
Yeah, that's tough. You know, the old thing of mineral oil that we used to use does do okay, but the problem is if we try to put it in a bottle like we do, unless they tube it through the nostril, it goes in the lungs, and then they end up drowning, actually. You know, but boy, Rocky, I hate to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, she says, yes, sir, he was in a bad colic. We had a Banamine and gave it IM. She did ask the difference that you see in mules and horses. Is there any difference? I think she was talking about in terms of seeing colic.
Okay, no, that's the downside of the mule. That's also the downside of people. It is with this, because when a mule has pain, they brace into it. And the same thing with this mule. They will brace into it, and you don't know that they're hurting on the inside. What I usually do, as I'm looking at my mules and I'm watching the road apples and stuff, I'll take my finger and I'll lift their gum up, I'll lift their lip up, and I'll hit their gum and see how fast the capillary refill is. And that really helps. But horses usually are a lot more animated. They flop on the ground, they kick their sides, but mules will get over to one side and just brace. It's hard to know. You always want to keep an eye on their respiration, and you want to keep an eye on their blood. Was this after a ride or just woke up one morning?
Yeah, we'll see what she says here. She wrote in. She said he was very stoic. It was her most recent comment. She'll be. I'm sure she'll answer here in a second. If anybody else has any questions before we hop off, feel free to pop them in the comment section there, and we'll hear what Rocky has to say. He got up and walked, no gum color at all, very weak in the back end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Saturday morning.
Yeah, so it wasn't after a ride then. It was just he was standing. Yeah, what does she feed?
Yeah, I know that feed is a very, very big deal, and I know that that's something that you're always interested in, especially when you're talking about the behavior of a mule, and then specifically in this case, she says this Saturday with the storm that just blew through, so it sounds real recent. That's tough.
Yeah.
She said, "No, sir," after bite. And then let's see what she says she's feeding here. She's like Johnny on the spot there.
She's awesome. Rocky's not only is she a strong Christian woman, but she's pretty sharp, that gal.
She says he was on a grass hat.
Okay, so he's feeding Bermuda hay. Yeah. So, see, the downside of Bermuda hay, you don't know what kind of vitamins and minerals are in there. A lot of these mules, I have found out later on doing hair analysis, they're actually short on zinc. And that usually, when they're short on zinc, they can colic the easiest. So that's what I like about feeding Lake and Light. It's a complete pellet, has everything that you need. And I have done several studies on it and tests. I've gone in with on one side of my corrals and fed nothing but hay, the other side nothing but pellets, and it ended up being less wheelbarrow loads of manure going out the door. So I saved money in the long run. Plus, they weren't picking up on the ground. But see, when that pellet gets wet, it swells up and it makes them feel like they're not hungry anymore.
What's your thought on zinc? Why does that matter?
It seems to have a lot to do with their intestines and their stomach and this sort of thing, so that they have good digestive enzymes. The majority of mules that I have seen colic and that I've done hair analysis on seem to be zinc short. So I'm not real good on knowing much about the feeding and this sort of thing. I just know what I've found over the years. Hair analysis, you all, makes a big difference. You really, once a year, you should really get a hair analysis and get an idea of kind of where the animals are, especially if they're low on one of their A's or B's or something like that. But zinc basically helps them with the enzyme breakdown.
Very cool. Well, before we've been going here for 37 minutes. It just flown by. When you're talking this stuff, and especially talking with friends, it goes by quickly. Is there anything top of mind before we say goodbye? Is there anything you've been thinking about, or anything? Maybe had a phone call. I know you're always getting phone calls from folks. Anything top of mind that you want to share before we say bye-bye for now?
No, I just really appreciate everybody over the years, especially the prayers when I was going through the problems I had with my hips, And our God still answers prayers in all kinds of ways. It's a wonderful thing. But, folks, our country needs your prayers. So if you do anything at all, that your focus needs to be, as you sure enough need to be focusing on praying for our country, because the Bible says that blessed are those who come before the Lord. Blessed is the nation who is blessed before the Lord. And so, you need to make sure you pray for our country. Hey, we love you guys. We'll see you in the barn someday.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks everyone for hanging out. If you're not following Steve here on Facebook, make sure you do. He's on YouTube. We're doing stuff on Instagram now. It's been pretty cool finding folks on Instagram. That's rapidly growing. So we're sharing a lot of different pictures and photos and this sort of thing over on Instagram. So if you're on there, we'd love to connect with you there. I know Steve loves seeing the different photos and making comments and hearing what you all got going on. So thanks so much, Steve. I love hanging out with you as always, and take care, my brother.
Hey, blessings to you. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord.
There we go. Great way to end it. Have a good day, everyone. Peace.